Ba-da-ba-dum, ba-doo-ba-doo, ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Pow, pow, pow. Hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. 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 Oops, whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Hello there. Pardon me as I get situated. There we go. Woohoo! Yay, Monday! I almost said Wednesday. Time is a little weird lately, for sure. And I am just getting home, just getting set up, so come on in. Come on in, take your shoes off as I get set up. I just got home from doing readings all day. Well, I wasn't doing readings all day. I did a few readings during the day, but I sat there for about somewhere between 7 and 8 hours. And when I wasn't doing readings, I was drawing some comics. And I actually finished another page. If you are following my comics on my drawing, what is it? drawingbreath-comic.blogspot.com. If you just look up Drawing Breath Comic, Google that, you should be able to find it. I am on page 11 of a comic I'm working on, which is going to be, it's actually the first in what's going to be a collection of stories. One of my other passions, aside from shamanism and cartooning, is archery. And I am researching and finding different cultural stories, legends, myths about archery. And I'm collecting those, and then I am drawing a few of my childhood comic characters, acting out those stories. Of course, they have their own little interpretations, and they're kind of uppity. At least the one is. He's constantly questioning me, and what the heck are you doing? That wasn't in the manuscript, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, drawing breath-comic.blogspot.com, and you can look up my comics. The latest one is the Saga of Didrik of Bern. And it's a long, epic Danish Viking saga. But I'm only doing a few short chapters from it. So it's not even the full saga. There's a really cool archery part in the story. And if we're going to do card readings, I should probably pull out my cards, huh? I know I have them in here. Here, cards. There we go. Ta-da! Anyway, so the Saga of Didrik of Bern. It's an epic tale, saga, ancient poem, Danish, Viking. It deals with Wayland the Smith. He's probably one of the most famous smiths in mythology. And his brother, who is a master archer. And so you can see, like I said, I've got 11 pages so far, and I'm about halfway through. It's like doing 3 different little chapters, and I just lit some sage so I can smudge my cards. But yeah, so if you like ancient tales, the funny thing is that the portion that I'm doing doesn't even include Didrik, who is the title character of the entire poem saga. So anyway, if you can tell, I'm a little bit tired. I am rambling quite a bit, but so that is my comics, and I have other comics on that same blog. It's basically a blog that I upload my comics to, and I've got other years and years and years worth of comics up there. So go check it out and see what you think. I even have some graphic novels that you can order if you're interested. So, but it's mostly, other than that one, it's mostly, my comics tend to be kind of a journal of my own life, my shamanic adventures, and that kind of thing. So check it out. It's really cool. If I weren't making it, I would be reading it. It's the kind of comic that I really like. And so I enjoy making it, I enjoy reading it, and it's really cool because since it is a lot about my life and experiences, it's a great reference point to look back when I forget who I am, forget what I'm doing, forget the purpose I am here for, etc. All I have to do is go back and read my comics, and it reminds me exactly who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm here, all that kind of stuff. So, and at some point in the near future, I intend on teaching a class called Cartooning as a Spiritual Practice. So stay tuned for that. I am working on it as we speak. So anyway, so let's pull some cards, okay? So I'm Patrick. I will be your friendly neighborhood shaman for the evening, and we are going to pull some cards. Every Monday night, I pull 3 cards from the medicine card deck. This lovely deck here with all the totem animals and stuff. And so you pick a number between 1 and 3, and then I'll do a reading on each card that I pulled, whichever one corresponds to the number you picked. That is your guidance for the week. That's why I do this on Monday, because it's like, let's get a little bit extra guidance for our weeks. Let's find out what animal spirits are walking or flying or swimming alongside us to help us get through the week, to help teach us, support us, and all those good things. All right. Pick your numbers, 1, 2, or 3, or 2 numbers, or all 3 numbers. I keep saying, like, the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've kind of intended on trying something different. But every time I come back, like I said, I do readings on Mondays down in Tacoma, a lovely store down there called Crescent Moon Gifts. Go check it out. It's a wonderful store. But I get done there at 6:30, and then I come back here to do readings for you at 7:30. So it gets a little bit rushed. I might be a little bit, and it's not the readings that takes it out of you, it's just the being on, right? Like, people who are on call, it's like, it's exhausting just being on. So I've been on for about 7 hours or so today. I did a few readings I always so look forward to this. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate your support. So let's get to some cards, all right? Oh, I was saying, wee bit tired. And so I had something planned different for the last couple of weeks, but I've just been with that rush to get back here after doing readings all day and such. I am kind of don't have the extra energy, the extra spoons to try something new out right now. So let's just do what we do. So let's pull some cards. All right. So number 1, if 1 is the card you chose, you got Weasel, our little ferret friend. Weasel, excuse me, Weasel is kind of the secret agent of the animal kingdom. Weasel is into everything. If you've ever had ferrets or known someone who's had ferrets, they never stop moving except to sleep. But, I mean, we went to the zoo one time and watched the weasel, and it was like one end of the cage to the other, not cage, but glass enclosure, and he was up and back and this way and that way, zoom, 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 never slowed down, and they have such a high metabolism. They have to keep eating and moving, and Weasel tends to represent the mental realms, kind of. Is that getting into everything, so he knows a little bit about everything that's going on. He's in and out before you even know it. And so he knows all about what's going on over there. He overhears what's going on over there. So it can be kind of the mental, actually, and intuitive as well. The medicine of Weasel is kind of knowing things that you're not supposed to know, knowing things that you shouldn't know. So it's kind of intuitive, mental, because you pick things up just out of the ethers. You overhear things, or something happens and you just know what's going on or know what's needed. So this is good when it works for you. If your weasel medicine is out of balance, it can be the hamster wheel. That the weasel can't stop moving, right? Just like your brain. And if you're not focused, if you don't have the structure, or like if your brain is leading the way rather than your heart, your brain it's like overthinking, the hamster wheel. Instead of knowing all the different possibilities, you're guessing, you're going, what if that happens? What if that happens? Because you're aware of all the possible outcomes, and you can't stop moving. So you're constantly going from one to the next, to the next, to the next. But the brain is meant to be the servant, not the master. The heart is the master. So what that means is, if this is your card for this week, I would recommend, if you don't already, trying some form of meditation, some way to drop into the heart, to be able to get some perspective, to be able to step back from the mind. Meditation, the purpose of meditation is not to still the mind. A lot of people think it's to go in there and to stop the thinking, when the true purpose is to become the observer of the thoughts, not attached to them. So it becomes like you're the sky and the thoughts are the clouds just flowing through. You're like, oh, there's that thought again. Oh, look, there's that thought. That's shaped like a turtle smoking a cigar. Oh, look, that one looks like a pony. To become that observer, to drop. The way I think of it for myself is like, I always think, okay, drop in behind my eyes. we tend to look at the world from our eyes outward. And this is like dropping behind that, becoming aware, becoming the beholder, the observer, and no judgment, no good or bad, or could have done that better. It's just thoughts are thoughts. And I've said this before too. Remember that you have thoughts, you are not your thoughts. You have emotions, you are not your emotions. You have a body, you are not your body. So, in other words, it's like the question is, who is thinking this thought? Who is feeling this feeling, right? Who's moving my body? Who's beating my heart? And to answer that, you have to drop back beyond all of that, beyond the feelings, beyond the thoughts, to the stillness within you. That stillness is that alignment to spirit, that alignment to creator. And from that alignment and that stillness, zoom, 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 zoom. If this is your card, I just recently became aware of, a lot of people have been talking about divergent thinking, or something similar to that. And this is your card, you probably fall into that category. And it kind of goes along, at least in my mind, because I am an introvert, it kind of goes with introverts. The main population of humanity are, well, everybody's in the spectrum someplace, but most of the majority lie toward the extrovert portion, which means thoughts go in, thoughts come out. That like the brain of an introvert versus the brain of an extrovert are different, chemically, physically different. Not a lot of people know that, but you can look it up, Google it, and the way that an introvert brain and an extrovert brain processes things is totally different. They have MRI things they can watch the pathway of thoughts of how they go into the brain and then how they are reacted to, how they come out. An extrovert's brain basically pops in and the reaction pops out. An introvert's brain goes in and in and in and in before it has the chance to integrate, come up with a solution, and come out and out and out and out. Now the thing is, the introvert's brain, it's not that it is slower than an extrovert's brain. The introvert brain actually is faster, lickety-split, like weasel, like all over the place. That's why introverts tend to be ones with anxiety, because their brains get carried away with them. And as the stuff's going in, we can't live up to the extrovert ideal because it takes us longer to process things. So like someone asks you a question, they expect a response right then. But we have to let it come in, integrate, soak it up, come up with an answer, weigh the different possibilities, blah, blah, blah. And while that's happening, actually, we've got at least a dozen other things going on in our brain. It's literally like having a computer with a dozen screens open at once. That's how your brain works. That's the weasel brain. And so by turning to stillness, turning within, where you become the eye of the storm, not the storm of the thoughts around you, that's where you connect with the heart. And then it's like, zoom. It's like the heart becomes the master. The heart becomes the inspired action, tells you what to do. And then the brain's like, step 1, step 2, step 3, choom. It just needs focus. It, like a dog. Like, dogs are, how do I put it? They talk about dogs need jobs. They are guardians. They are protectors. They need something to do. And if they don't have that, they fall into depression or anxiety. They might become vicious and act out or whatever because they don't have a job. They don't have those parameters, that focus. Your brain needs a focus. It needs the boundaries, the parameters within which to perform. And so you go to the heart to get that inspiration to find out, okay, I want to do this. And then boom, your brain is off, your mind is putting all the things into place that you need to do, to people to contact, the stuff to gather, whatever. But when the brain is in charge, it doesn't have those parameters, so it's everywhere. And that just creates, that's just either an explosion or a total disbursement of energy so that nothing gets done. So I like also that the number on the card is 33. So not only did you get Weasel, you got a master number 33. So a lot of people, like I said with meditation, try to still the mind. They try to control the mind. But the mind is untamable. It comes from nurturing it. It's the same. It's amazing how it all kind of goes back to, you could trace it all back to patriarchy and the masculine versus the feminine. You know, it's like trying to control something, trying to get your meat claws into it, to control it, to slow it down, to stop it, rather than to nurture it like the feminine way. It's like to take stock of the gifts you're given, the talents you're given, and then nurture them to the highest potential and flow with them, not try to control them. The more you try to control it, the more it's going to break out in toxic, unhealthy ways. So go into the heart first. You're already, you think quicker and more completely than others. You're constantly noshing on half a dozen, if not more, different projects or thoughts at the same time. So to manage all that, you need downtime. You need to breathe, to come to your heart, and then you can utilize that superpower. And the other aspect is, rather than falling into the hamster wheel, when you get intuitive hits, when synchronicities happen, etc., go with it. Trust the connections. Trust that you do know things. When you think of someone and all of a sudden they call you, or you need something and all of a sudden someone offers it to you, or whatever, these synchronicities that fall into place, pay attention to those. Know that that's a sign of how connected you are, and trust those synchronicities. Trust your intuition. You do know more than you give yourself credit for. And it's the heart that knows those things. You can't know them through the mind. All right? Chai. All right. Number 2. If 2 is your number, then you got Mouse. Mouse is about don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. Mouse's world is very small. Mouse doesn't worry about the cat who may or may not be in the next field over. Mouse just like sees the piece of grass in front of him. Oh my God, this is such a luscious piece of grass. Chomp, 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 chomp. Ooh, look, another piece of grass. Chomp, 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 chomp. It's about keeping things small, keeping things simple. Don't get caught up in, right now is not the time for the big picture. It kind of similar, this is kind of the theme going through here tonight, similar to Weasel. You can get caught, get your energy dispersed, be totally undermined by what's going on in the bigger world. On the bigger world stage, oh my God, this happened over in Afghanistan, and this happened over in Brazil, and what does that mean for us, blah, blah, blah. Not that those things aren't important, but the only way to heal the world, the only way to save the world is in the present moment where you are. Everything you need for this moment is right here and now. It's that simple. Don't worry about what's going on other places. Your only responsibility is your immediate sphere of influence. Mouse had something else to say, and I just lost it. Just went out of my head. So there's one of my all-time favorite TV shows is a show called Early Edition. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's kind of obscure, but it takes place in Chicago, and there's this guy that's like newly divorced, has to get a room in a hotel, and he suddenly starts getting the next day's paper each morning. He'll, like, the paper will arrive, he'll look at it, and it's the paper for the next day, the early edition. And so he starts running around the city to kind of like prevent accidents, save people who are in danger, and that, as reported in the next day's, in tomorrow's newspaper. And I believe as the first episode, this is so totally what I'm trying to say with Mouse. In the paper, it talks about a plane crash, a plane that's taking off, crashes after it takes off and kills like all 200 people or whatever that are on board. And so he's trying as hard as he can. He's got a couple of friends who are helping him, and they're trying to get to the airport, to prevent the plane from taking off. It's like, oh my God, and they can't get there. It's just one thing after another blocks their way. Meanwhile, there's, in the same paper, there's a little girl who gets hit on her bike by a car, and she's closer by. So finally, he gives up trying to save the plane and goes and rescues this little girl on the bike because she's within reach. And so he saves her. She still was hurt somehow, but he takes her to the hospital, and he's sitting there in the hospital just like grieving all these people who are going to die on that plane because he couldn't get to the airport. He looks up, and coming down the hallway toward him, toward the room the little girl's in, is the pilot of that plane. Because that pilot is the little girl's dad. So by saving the little girl within reach, he just saved the 200 people who were on the plane that were out there someplace. So never underestimate acts of kindness, acts of love, little things that you do every day. They ripple out in ways you cannot even guess. Take care of your own self, your own family, your own home, what's around you, and that will ripple out and touch everybody around you and everybody around them, and so on, and so on, and so on. So keep it simple. You're not here to save the world, the big world. You're not here to save anyone. You're here to take care of yourself. And the ironic thing is, by taking care of yourself, you take care of everybody else. We are all connected. And I keep forgetting the name of the politician. He was a Minnesota politician, so I should remember it. But he said, when we all do better, we all do better. So the best thing you can do for the bigger world picture is to take care of your little world. Take care of yourself. That does so much, rippling out to the world that and you can't even imagine. It's the butterfly effect in quantum physics, where this little butterfly in South America flaps its wings, and a week later there's a thunderstorm in France. It's like everything is connected. Every little action creates other actions. It ripples outward. And there's this phrase that I try to live my life by called, oh, I just lost my light. You can still see me though. It's okay. I totally forgot where I was going. I guess that was the point. Just that. So remember that. The light went out and I forgot. So, okay. Okay. I guess that is it. So, number 3. If 3 is your number, 3 is a card you wanted. We got our old favorite, Jaguar. Jaguar is about integrity. Jaguar, yeah, Mercury retrograde, woohoo! Jaguar is about walking your talk. Jaguar is the queen of the jungle. She's an apex predator. She doesn't have to ask permission. She doesn't have to justify herself to anyone. Again, like I said with Weasel, her heart is her authority because she is so connected in, integrity is being aligned with your spirit, with Great Spirit, Creator, whatever you want to call it. That is being in integrity. Is when you're in alignment, then everything you do flows from that connection. And I just remembered what I was going to say when the light went out, because it applies to Jaguar as well. The phrase is, walk in beauty. It's a Native American phrase, and I don't know which tribe, but it basically means to walk in beauty. To, like, every action, every word you say is a seed of either love or fear. And so as to walk in beauty is to walk in a way that every action, every word spoken is a seed of beauty, a seed of love, a seed of healing, a seed of connection, rather than hate and violence and separation. So that is Jaguar in a nutshell. That is integrity. When you're being true to yourself, your heart is your authority. And that can sound kind of like whitewash, like be nice to everyone, don't upset anybody. You think Jaguar worries about whether she upsets people? By being true to herself, by being true to yourself, if you're coming from your heart, if your actions are perfectly reflecting what's in your heart, if your words are reflecting what's in your heart, then any offense or any pain or any hurt that is created in response to that is the lesson of the other people. And that sounds kind of cold and callous, but everything is connected, like I just got done saying. And if what's true for you, the actions, the words that you use, if they are true for you, then the people around you need to hear those, and then it's their choice how they're going to react, how they're going to respond, how they're going to take it in. Because if you're being true to yourself, they're being called to be true to themselves. Like you it's like entrainment. Like you walk at a higher vibration, and everybody around you, their vibration wants to lift to match yours, like a room with clocks that keep tick-tocking together. You know, if you're the highest vibration, which you are, if you're walking in integrity and alignment, then everything you do, people might react badly, they might run for the hills, they might hate you, but that is just that part of them waking up. It's like they're become aware of a gap between where they are and who they can be. And so people don't like that. Their heart starts to open, and it freaks them the heck out. And they go running for the hills, or they lash out and blame you for creating something in them, when by being true to yourself, you're still, even if it seems to be, if someone has a bad reaction to you being in your truth, then that's their lesson that they need. That is still a seed of beauty. Jaguar is a predator. She's the queen. I like comparing her to Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, right? Goddess of the hunt. Artemis is the one in charge of life and death. She is the goddess of the wild. And it's the predators that keep the entire system healthy by seeing to their own well-being. The rest of the system stays in a healthy state. For example, my best example of that is when they reintroduced the wolves to Yellowstone. You know, before that, the herds of deer and elk and bison, there was disease, there was sickness, the land itself wasn't healthy because it was overgrazed. The riverbanks were losing integrity because the game animals were coming down to drink any old place, and so the vegetation was getting trampled, so there weren't the roots needed to hold the banks of the rivers, etc. And as soon as the wolves were introduced, the wolves, you know, taking just what they need to survive, taking just what they can eat, culling out the sick and the weak in the animal herds, they added to the well-being and health of all the herd animals. The herd animals, needing to be cautious now, only came down to the rivers to drink in certain places, and so the vegetation was able to revitalize. There were stronger roots to hold the banks in place, so the rivers became stronger, so the fish were able to swim better. Everything came better when the predators came in, because, you know, we have this whitewashed thought of, you know, life good, death bad. But everything is a cycle of death and rebirth. You can't have life without death in this world. And things have to die in order for things to live. And if you're coming from, I keep using that term whitewashed, from a whitewashed way of thinking that it's like death is scary, death is bad, we have to make sure everything survives. If you take Yellowstone as an example, a metaphor for our society, the nice society where everyone tries to be politically correct and not offend anyone else, blah, blah, blah. Everybody walks over everybody else. There is no integrity to the channels of healing, of emotions. Everything is trampled. Everything, it's that same state. And it's it's the presence of the predator that makes life more precious, number one. And death is just another part of life. One of my favorite parts of shamanism is what we call psychopomp. And that is where we go in and we help souls to pass over. There's, especially in tragedies that happen really quick or suddenly, sometimes souls get caught in between and they don't pass over right away, or if people are overly focused on something in this world, they can't pass all the way into the light. And so through psychopomp, we are able to help them pass over into the light. And that is one of the most rewarding, oh my God, I have so many memories, so many tears that have happened from experiences doing that work. That I am not afraid of death. It's like I've connected to people on the other side that come and collect their grandsons or granddaughters or sons and daughters to bring them into the light. It's like they're so focused on this world that we can get their attention, and then we call in the helpers on the other side, grandparents, parents, their favorite dog or whatever, to come and get them and then take them into the light. In one case, I was doing a soul retrieval for a woman whose fiance had recently I had a student who told me a better way of putting this, and I'm trying to remember what it was. There was her fiance killed himself, and because he loved her so much, he was still holding on. Even after death, he was trying to protect her. So he was hanging around her, like almost grasping, trying to protect her. And so in the course of the soul retrieval, I had to talk to him and convince him that, as it is, because he hasn't crossed all the way over, when he's focusing on her, he's actually a drain on her system, which is why she was kind of experiencing depression and anxiety. He was trying to help, his intentions were good, and trying to protect her, but he was like cutting her off from her own connection, alignment, and he was siphoning off of her energy to remain in between the worlds. And so I had to let him know that by passing over, he can come back anytime he wants. He can still hang around, but he can be more of a protective guardian spirit rather than someone that's there like trying to survive, trying to hold on to protect her. And so he did. I was able to help him cross over, and zoom, he came right back, but like brilliantly, like illuminated. So death is not a bad thing. Especially if you believe in like reincarnation and all of that. But beyond all of that is the fact that we are energy, and energy cannot be destroyed or created. The energy that you are has been here since the beginning of time, and it will be here beyond the end of time. There's nothing that can destroy you. And so whether you believe you go off to some heaven, you come back and recycle through a number of lives for different lessons or experiences, you cannot be wiped out. And so the predator walks that line between life and death. It's just like weeding your garden, and the weeds go into the compost, and they feed the soil, they feed the earth, which makes other things grow. It's a cycle. There is no end to it. There is no end to you. So the bottom line is be yourself. Let your heart be your authority. You are an apex predator. You deserve what you desire. When it's coming from your heart, there is nothing too big or nothing too small to ask for. You do not need permission. You do not need to justify yourself. And if other people react badly, then you just gave them that gift of what it looks like to come from your heart, to come from truth and integrity, which, whether they realize it or not, they might totally recoil from it and be freaked out, but someplace you just planted the seed, the demonstration of what it looks like, what it feels like to live in integrity, to live in alignment. And eventually that seed is going to germinate in them, and they'll look back at it, realize, oh my God, that's what that person was doing. How could I have been angry at them for that? You know, it's like, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. So live in your integrity. Do not be afraid of what anyone else says or does. If you are in your integrity, you're golden. And the thing is, when you move from your integrity like that, the kingdom, the jungle that Jaguar is the queen of, her queendom, is not like the hierarchy pyramid of our society where there's one on top, that's the all-powerful, and everyone below them incrementally loses power and has to support that one. And so it's like the one lives on the broken backs of all those under them. Jaguar, the circle of life. Just like in The Lion King, think about Simba and Mufasa. When Scar took over as king, the whole land died because he wasn't in his integrity, and he was trying to leech power and be dominant. But it's when the monarch, the queen or the king, are in unity, the circle of life, that then all around the circle, the entire circle does well. If the monarch does well, that ripples out to the entire kingdom, the entire circle. And if any part of that circle is not doing well, it affects the one, the queen. And so it's the beautiful, it's the circle of life, it's the reciprocity, and death is not the ending. There's a Celtic saying that death is the middle of a well-lived life. I'm not sure that I understand that exactly, but I kind of half intuitively understand what they're saying. But life and death, I had an encounter one time with Kali Ma, the goddess, the Hindu goddess, the one with the tongue sticking way out with that crazy look in her eyes, and she's got like a severed head in one hand and a belt of skulls, and she's standing on a dead body. Yeah, her. And we emphasize the death and the destruction of her, but she is one of the most compassionate mothers. When I saw her, I ended up in this cave. It was like this cavern, like this cathedral underground. And I saw her across the way on the stone throne. And she saw me, and she kind of waved me over. So I started just running across this stone room. And I realized at the time I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old when I became my younger self, and I just leapt into her arms, all 4 of them. And she held me, and it was just one of the safest things I've ever felt. And the love pouring off of her. Anyway, her main message to me was that life and death are the same thing. We talk about 2 sides of the same coin, but we keep talking about the 2 sides. We never get to the point that it's one coin. Life and death are the same thing. It's the same process of something dying, dismemberment and rememberment. It's all the same thing. If you think of an hourglass shape, you think about like that running through your body, like your chakras and how the energy kind of comes up, fountains out, goes down and comes back up again. That's called a toroidal field. If you think about that hourglass, when it comes down into that skinniest point, that's the point of dearth and death and birth. It's like things come in, squeeze, 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 squeeze. There's more anxiety. Things are crazy. Things are falling apart. And then boom, it hits that narrowest part. Everything dies and boom, it's reborn. It's the womb. It's the birth canal. Birth and death are the same thing. So never be afraid of death. I was going to say never be afraid of birth. A lot of people are. They kind of hold off and try to not cross that next threshold. We want to stay safe where we are. But there's nothing to be afraid of. The universe is our great mother. We are all part of that same energy. There is nothing that can destroy you. You are eternal. You are love and light at your essence. Nothing can take that away from you because that's who you are. Like I said, you have thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You have feelings. You are not your feelings. You have a body, but you are not your body. You are the one who creates the body, who creates the thoughts. Those things come through like a radio signal, and you decide which ones you're going to tune into or not. So, all right, I think I did that pretty well without going way off tangent. Yeah, so trust your intuition, trust your heart, stay simple, stay small. Don't play small, don't get me wrong. Be your big, magnificent self, but within your own sphere of influence, within your own life. Don't worry about what other people are doing. And be awesome. You are the queen of your jungle. You are the apex predator. Your heart is your authority. There's this song a friend of mine sang at Gaia's temple one time, and it was like something about my heretic heart is my authority or something like that. It was just, I love that. I love that so much. So that is our card reading for tonight. Woohoo! Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll come back next week. Invite your friends. Share this video. If you enjoyed that, please consider connecting with me for your own personal reading, where you get at least five cards, if not more, for yourself in a more focused, more relevant way. And I love doing it. If you leave not feeling empowered from one of my readings, then I have not done my job. And I will continue to do it until I tell you are empowered. So check out my website, perchingwolfstudios.net, if you want to get a hold of me to set up a reading or soul retrieval or other shamanic healing or service or something. Check out what I've got to offer. I hope to see you Wednesday night. Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock Pacific time. I do a sacred pipe ceremony, creating sacred space for people to gather virtually to offer prayers and intentions. It's going straight to Creator, create a better world for all living things. And I think that's it for now. I think. Yeah. So, again, thank you so much for your support. Oh, and if you feel so moved, I always accept, gratefully, donations. I have my PayPal thingy in the description or whatever. If you feel so called, just throw me a couple dollars. I would really appreciate it. And thank you so much. I hope this was meaningful. I hope that your week goes well. Remember to call on these guides. Whichever ones volunteered to walk with you, call on them to help you for guidance. And have a wonderful, wonderful week. I hope to see you back here next week, if not Wednesday night. So have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you again. And remember, I love you. I see you and I honor you. So go shining. Have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.